Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. A very happy new year to all of our viewers out there. We are so happy that you are joining us tonight for an amazing program with author Shannon Dittemore. And welcome to Book Passage. We do have our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to that yet, please do so. And then just before we actually start, I want to let everybody know this event will be archived. So if you know people who really wanted to view it, or you have to leave in the middle, you can go back to our website and it will be archived under our author's name. So keep that in mind. And we do take questions from our audience, so you can submit questions for this evening's event. And we love to answer our audience questions. So again, welcome to Book Passage. Welcome back to all of our loyal supporters. And if you are new to Book Passage, well, a hearty welcome. We certainly hope that this is the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship. Book Passage does have two locations. We have our store in Corte Madera, and we have our store in the San Francisco Ferry Building, and both stores are open 7 days a week for your shopping pleasure. So however you want to buy your books, either come into the store, you can order books on our website, and of course you can always call us and purchase your books that way. So whatever works for you, we are happy to help you. And Book Passage does have a very active corporate program. That means if you're a business owner or even an individual out there who wants to buy a large quantity of books, please give one of our stores a call and we will offer you very generous discounts. We can do free shipping and we ship all over the country. And it is a really active program and it really helps businesses. We all know working remotely, working in person, hybrid, getting a book for your staff is a really great way to unify your employee base. So think about that. It's just a great idea, and everybody loves books. And if your staff is all reading the same book, well, nothing gets much better than that. So again, that information is on our website. And Book Passage is very proud to bring you all of our excellent programming. Please look at our website to stay up to date with all our events. We have a very busy winter schedule. January, February, March, they are packed with events, both in person and virtual. I'm going to mention just a few. On Sunday, February 5th, we are hosting New York Times bestselling author Patricia Engel, and she will be in our Corte Madera store at 1 p.m. She'll be discussing her newest book, The Faraway World. And then on February 23rd at 6 p.m., also in our Corte Madera store, we are proud to present Christopher Preston. His newest book is called Tenacious Beasts. And it's about wildlife on the brink of extinction and how we can introduce new wildlife into wilderness areas, and what species are thriving, what aren't. Very interesting, very enlightening. And again, these are two free events. Please look at our calendar because they are on there along with all the other activities that we have going on at Book Passage, our events, our classes, our cafe is open. So, don't miss it. Look at our website, stay up to date. And again, I'm going to mention one more time, tonight's event will be archived. So if you'd like to view it later, tell your friends and family, they are welcome to watch. Here at Book Passage, our mission is to enrich, engage, and inspire. And Book Passage has been a Bay Area institution and a family-owned business for over 40 years. We thank our customers for all that, and we certainly look forward to serving you for another 40 years. Well, tonight we are thrilled to bring you Shannon Dittemore's newest work, Rebel, Brave, and Brutal, the gripping sequel to Winter, White, and Wicked that boasts the thrills of Mad Max Fury Road and the icy magic of Frozen. And if you thought Winter, White, Wicked was epic, buckle up, my friends, because this one, Shannon has done it again. Rebel, Brave, and Brutal follows our favorite crew as they try to take down the majority and the self-proclaimed queen of Lacey Winter herself. It is quite a story, and we are very excited to bring it to you tonight. Shannon Dittemore is the author and contributor to the blog Go Teen Writers, which was one of Writer's Digest 101 websites for writers. And when she's not at her desk, she can be found in the wilds of Northern California. She lives up near Sacramento, adventuring with her husband, their 2 children, and a beautiful husky named Leonidas. And maybe we'll even get to see Leonidas tonight if she's home. Shannon is joined this evening by Jessica Olson. Jessica currently lives in Texas, where she spends most of her time singing the praises to the inventor of the air conditioner, probably not today in the wintertime, but I can certainly imagine that is the case in the summer. When she's not hiding from the heat, she's corralling her 4 wild but adorable children. She is a very busy mom, dreaming up stories about kissing and murder and magic. What a combination. And she's also eating peanut butter by the spoonful straight from the jar. She earned a bachelor's in English with minors in editing and French, which essentially means she spent all of her university time reading and eating French pastries. Does not sound bad to me. She is the author of Sing Me Forgotten, A Foragy of Roses, and these titles are both available at Book Passage now, along with Shannon's new book, Rebel, Brave, and Brutal. So please give a warm welcome to 2 very talented storytellers. We are thrilled to have Shannon Dittemore and Jessica Olson. Welcome to our Book Passage virtual stage.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Congratulations, Shannon.
Yay!
Like, just so busy since the book came out. I know that like release is kind of crazy. So
Yeah, it is. I'm teaching this semester or this year, and this semester was ending and starting. So it all happened the exact same week when finals were due, and they said, "Hey, this is your book release." And yeah, it's a lot all at once for sure.
well, cool. Well, I'm just like so excited about your second book coming out. I know that like having a second book in a duology is like a big deal. I personally don't have a series out yet. Both my books are standalones, but like I've talked to lots of friends who are just like, a sequel is so hard. And so it's just like this like big moment to finally like have it done and out there. And like, I don't know, is that true? Is that how you feel?
Oh my goodness, yes. And I think for this book specifically, because when I originally, my publisher bought these books one at a time. So they bought Winter, White, and Wicked with maybe the idea that we would do a second book, depending on whether or not we had good sales and good reviews. And then COVID hit. And so I was set to release Winter in October of 2020, and everyone's quarantined. And so you're not doing book events. We started doing things like this, doing them online. But I somehow, in the midst of all of that, we found out right around the time it released that it had already gone into a second printing and that they wanted book 2. And so, it takes them a little bit to get that offer together. So I hadn't started. I mean, I told my agent, I really want to finish this story, but I mean, it doesn't seem wise to do it until somebody, gives me a contract and is willing to pay for it because they had the rights anyway. Right. So I thought I would just, so I was waiting and waiting, and the contract finally came through, in early 21. And so I started writing, I think January, February of 21, with the understanding that it was going to come out in fall of 22.
Oh, wow.
And because that's what the contract said, right? Like that's the goal. I did not realize, or had not thought to consider, that my publisher considered January as part of their fall line. So it didn't even cross my mind that my book may not come out until 23. So just booking it through all of 21, just trying to get it written so we have enough time for all the design elements and, publicity, because it takes a bit to do all of that. And then I remember, I think we were doing like the cover reveal, and I'm thinking, awesome, the book's coming out in like 6-8 months. It's going to be perfect. Good timing all around. And then like that week, I got the news that it wouldn't be coming out until January of 23. And so I feel like I wrote this book forever ago. And then it's been, just such a long runway to get it to this point. So yeah, I'm excited. It happened to land at a very busy time right after the holidays. But I'm excited to have it out in the world. And I really was grateful to be able to finish her story the way I wanted to finish it. So yes, it's crazy, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to finish it up.
Oh, good. That's so cool. I bet it just feels like crossing like this huge finish line to finally make it to.
Yes, that's exactly what it feels like. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Why don't we like start off with our little conversation chat? Like we talked about some questions. So why don't you go ahead and like, tell us a little bit about Winter and Rebel, just to kind of kick things off. Like, where did the story start and like how did it grow into like what it has become?
Yeah. So I mean, I know the pitch for it's kind of strange, right? It's like Mad Max Fury Road meets,
I think it's
Frozen. Right. I hope it's awesome, but I do sort of think in weird questions or weird concepts, big concepts, always really high concept for me. That's how my brain works. Ideas kind of colliding and becoming, and then I have to work to make it a cohesive story. But and this story really started, I took my family, my husband and I took our kids to Disneyland in 2015. And it was kind of the height of Frozen mania. And everywhere we went, Disney does Christmas time super well. And it was around that time, November, December of 2015. And it was snowing because they do that there. They can make it snow even in California. And everything was Elsa and Anna. There was sledding. You could go sled with Olaf. And so I think I just had like magical snow and winter on the brain. And then on our way home, we live in Northern California. And so we were taking Highway 99 from the south and taking it back up. And if you've ever been on Highway 99, you're just surrounded by cows. It's like cows and semi trucks is really what you're surrounded by. And my brain was just wandering. It's a 6-7 hour drive. Our kids are in the back seat, and they're truck on one side, truck on the other. And I think the ideas just collided, and I remembered. I think I had seen a commercial. I don't think I'd watched the show at this time, but I'd seen a commercial for the History Channel show, Ice Road Truckers. Have you heard of this show? Have you seen this?
No.
It's like it's a reality show really, but it's just following these truckers who take really dangerous jobs. And they basically are trucking to locations you can only get to when like rivers freeze over or parts of the ocean freeze over. So a lot of times they're obviously highly skilled. But it's a really unique job. Like it's something you don't know exists until somebody makes a reality show of it. And at that point I had not watched an episode, but I remembered seeing this commercial, and there was kind of this like hot blonde chick, and she was one of the truckers, and she had like she's talking to the camera. She has her coffee cup, in her hand, and she's just looking at the camera, and it's like night vision. Because they're filming her in the evening, and she's telling some story, and all of a sudden like a big gust of wind hits the trailer and like rattles it. And then like she looks at the camera with her eyes really wide, and there's like dun, 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 Ice Road Truckers, Tuesday at 7 or whatever it was. And that's all I really knew of it. But kind of just that drive from Southern California back up north, all of the Elsa snow magic in my head. I think it collided, and I had this thought like, what if you were an Ice Road Trucker on a frozen aisle, and maybe winter had an opinion about whether or not you could get from one side to the other. Maybe winter is not just this, is not just weather. Maybe winter is a spirit that has thoughts and opinions. And really maybe she's cursed the aisle. And so at that point, we've got a long drive. So I just start asking my kids, my son, especially at the time, my daughter was very young, but my son, especially, he was probably 8 or 9. And I remember saying like, okay, so what if we had a world that was cursed by winter? What would that look like? And why would it be cursed? And what would a great job be? And so we started just brainstorming. And that's really, that was really like the little snowflake of an idea, Yeah. So yeah, weirdo.
And then like, how did you like kind of like morph it to include like a second? Was there always like the second book in your mind, or was that something that you added there?
Yeah, I think so. Like writing the first one, I remember pitching it to my agent. Like, so I had this idea, and actually, I think she lives in Southern California. Her name is Holly Root. She lives down there, and so her husband and her kid, they were at Disneyland that day. I think she was pregnant, and she was waiting in the heat to meet me because Disneyland in November is hot too. But we actually had chatted, kind of updated, and it was time for me to begin working on a different story. And so we had bounced a couple of ideas, and I wasn't sure. And then when I got home, I messaged her and I said, what about like, Mad Max Fury Road meets Frozen? And she was just like, I am so here for it. And to this day, I will forever worship her for that moment. But I think I just started writing, and that's kind of how it works for me. I kind of take the first, because I think I saw, the girl in the commercial, I began with this idea of this young woman as an Ice Road Trucker. And then what are all the challenges of that? And I was able to kind of expand from there. When I got around to writing book 2, you know, because they had contracted just one book, I had this beautiful story arc that ended, but there was clearly more of the story to go. I mean, you can't get her from one spot to another and then not have generated enough story ideas for a book 2.
Right.
So I just was holding on. And once they, once they purchased book 2, you kind of have these characters. There are things they will and won't do, right? So there's less. So then there was a logical trajectory that threw me directly into book 2. So like for example, the last line of book 1, this is a tiny spoiler, friends, but not big. But the last line of book 1, somebody tells my main character, Sylvi, they say, "Welcome to the rebellion." And so it's very obvious that book 2 is going to take place. That's really what we're doing. Now we're going to fight. And so book 2, there was fighting in book 1, but that was different. And now book 2, we're actually going to have a different opponent. And it really, my plot was kind of laid out for me. I had done all the dirty work in book 1. So yeah, it is different. Writing a book 2 is different. They had said to me, like, do you think you could finish it in 2? And I said, well, are you going to buy 2 books if I say, no, I need 3? And well, my agent said all of this. And then their concept was, well, it'll depend on sales again. And I thought, I don't want somebody else to control the ending of the story. I want to be able to decide when I end it. So I just decided to wrap it up in a duology. So taking the ideas and making sure they fit into 2 books. And that was probably the biggest challenge, but
cool.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about your book? Okay, because this is her book right here. I don't have a great shelf behind me. My shelves are at the wrong spots. I put it up, but it's such a great book, A Forgery of Roses. And it has such a fascinating premise. And I'd love to know where your story spark idea came from. And if you don't know, that's okay. I remember Stephen King in his book saying, like, we don't know where our ideas come from, so don't ask us. But I always know where mine come from. And do you have any idea? And can you tell us where this one came from?
Yeah, so it's funny because like my ideas like come to me like in little pieces. I feel like I get like this piece right here, and then I have that piece, and then I eventually kind of like Frankenstein them together a little bit.
Yeah.
But so for A Forgery of Roses, it was actually, so when I originally sold my first book, Sing Me Forgotten, which is a standalone, we sold it in a 2-book deal. So we knew that I had another book that I needed to write, but I didn't know what it was yet because it's not a sequel. It was just like another standalone. And so, so it came time, like we finished Sing Me Forgotten, that was all set to go. And so it was like, my editor's like, so what are you gonna do for books for like your next book? And I was just like, good question. And so I was like pitching her idea after idea, and some of them were really dumb and some of them were fine, but like they could have been cool, but like I didn't like, they weren't things that I was super excited about. And I really, really stumped. And so what I did, so with Sing Me Forgotten, which is a retelling of Phantom of the Opera, I was like, well, I want to kind of like go with, I want to go with like that kind of vibe again, like a gothic-y kind of like vibe.
Oh, yeah, you're good at it.
Thank you, because I really enjoy, like, it's really funny because I'm like this like sweet, like I don't own anything like gothic in my house, but like I love like writing like that style. I don't know. So I was just like Googling like famous gothic books, cause like just to see if anything just like sparked an idea. And I saw the picture of Dorian Gray, and I was like, what if I did like an art-based magic system? And I didn't really want to write a Dorian Gray retelling because that didn't really feel like the right story for me to tell. But I really like the idea of like a painting, like magical paintings and stuff. So, and then I'd been really, really obsessed with murder mystery thrillers, like in the like year leading up to this point. So I was like, what if I did a murder mystery, but like there was like evil paintings or like magic paintings or whatever, like some kind of painting thing. And my editor was like, okay, maybe like, why don't you just like come up with an actual story and then we'll see. And so then I came up with like an actual story idea and they loved it. And so I like went with it. And honestly, like out of all of my books that I have written before or after, like it's been like my easiest, which is so funny. It just like kind of build out like all of every other book that I've tried to write, I had to like rewrite and like totally redo the second half and like take out an entire POV. But like this book, like seriously, it was like from the beginning to the end, it was just, it like knew what it needed to be, which was like a blessing because I know that most people's second books are like, like so stressful and stuff. So I was like, well, I don't know how it's probably going to be like my next book is just going to be like the worst or something, but
it'll hit you at some point. It's like when people say the terrible twos and then it's for your kid, then they're 3. So yeah, I don't wish that on you. I think it'll be great.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how it started, and then it kind of grew from there. But yeah.
I'm kind of glad you don't have secret like Gothic skills, because I mean I can't drive a truck either. So I think it's okay to do things that we have nothing about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny because like with Sing Me Forgotten, obviously it's like very musical, and I do have a lot of background in music, and so like I was able to draw from that. But with Forgy of Rose, I was like, I have no painting. Like I like to do art, but like as a hobby. Like I've never taken classes, I've never done oil painting ever. So I had to do like so much research, like
Oh my
so
goodness.
I was like, maybe I should pick something that I like have actually done next time. But
And do you like research? Do you enjoy it?
yeah, I do. I like it. I guess it depends on like what you're researching. I thought
Yeah.
that like just like painting and art was like really interesting to me, so I enjoyed that kind of research. But I suppose it just kind of depends. Do you like
Yeah.
research?
So with anytime I'm doing fantasy world stuff, it's fine because you can morph that to, change it, play with
Right.
it. It's like Play-Doh, right? This is your base
Mhm.
idea, but I can shape it into what I need it to be. I'm working on, which we're going to talk about later, but we'll just do it now. I'm working on an adult historical. It's not contracted. It's just something I want to write. And I should talk to Book Passage about it because it takes place in San Francisco, or at least starts there. And so much is about around the time of the San Francisco earthquake. And it's really tricky research because of the amount of pictures that are available because of the earthquake. So many people took so many pictures. So looking up stuff that happened in 1906, but just prior to the earthquake, is just near impossible because it's inundated. So I've kind of hit a stumbling block there, and I have another project to work on. But yeah, I think that people that write historicals all the time, I am learning I'm not worthy. You know what I mean? Like that is difficult. It's a whole different skill set than just making up a magic system. Not that that's simple, but I have to learn that again. Yeah, I have something new to learn. So for sure. Sometimes I like research. Sometimes it definitely messes me up. So
Yeah, no, I like research with fantasy because like I learn about the thing and then like I do what I want based
yes,
on that, So
great.
it's still like I don't have to get it totally right because this is my world, this is my magic system, this is my I made the city up. Like this doesn't exist. No one can fact check me on this
Right.
city.
Right, which was my main concern. Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, it's a problem.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
for
cool.
sure.
Why don't we talk about your characters? Because I love I haven't read the sequel yet, but I loved it's like a found family kind of like
Yeah,
team in her little dragon, the truck. I loved
I
it.
know.
So do you could you talk to us a little bit about like how you go about crafting the characters, and like did they change a lot from the beginning to the end? Were there any specific characters that gave you a trouble?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have an unruly character or two, are you even really writing a book? I think for me, my main character was probably the one who changed the least. I think with the story idea came the idea that I think I was kind of going through something personally that I wanted to like exorcise on the page. Just about, there's so many voices out there, right? Like there's just voices everywhere. People are saying what you should think and how you should feel and what you should stand up for, what your opinion should be when you do stand up for that person or whatever it is. And you start to like wonder if your voice actually is even going to be heard in and amongst the noise,
Yeah.
So that was something I was dealing with. So I wanted to play with that story arc for her specifically. So I knew her from the beginning, at least how she was going to grow, and I didn't know what that would look like because I never quite know, but I knew what her story arc was. But some of the other characters around her, I didn't know for sure. One of the funniest characters. So the crew in the first book, in the Silver Dragon, is made up of Sylvi, and then Mars Dresden, who's very powerful magically, and then a dreamy Shiv boy named Ken, and a very strong warrior woman named Hyla. And when I originally envisioned Hyla, it was actually a guy, like a big, strong Jason Momoa kind of strong man, right? Like in my head. And so his name was Hylic. And I wrote full drafts with Hylic. And at some point, my agent, when we were going through just the initial editing process, she made a comment to me that I really like this crew, but it's sort of starting to read like Three Men and a Little Lady. And I thought, oh, like, I mean, is it the 90s when that movie came out? And I thought, I'm not really trying to channel that. So
Yeah.
then around that time, I think there was so much being said about Wonder Woman and these really strong women. And I thought, how fun would it be to have kind of an Amazonian style woman in this role instead of a strong man? And so I was able to substitute that character, and she works so much better than he did. I was so grateful for the feedback. I think that's one example of really good feedback I've gotten. It really, I mean, sets the dynamics changed when I just changed that aspect, and her personality changed enough. Really enjoyed being that. So Hyla, her journey changed, her appearance changed, everything about her changed. And then another character I had was Lenore, and she is just kind of the reason for everything in book one. She's who Sylvi's trying to bring home. But then in book two, she is much more on the page. And so trying to kind of flesh that out and make her real, in a way that's just not this like pie in the sky, someone you're just reaching forward to or remembering, but actually placing her on the page in a crew. That took a little bit of work to do too, But I think, you asked how I craft them. I think I have a huge, I think lately, I would say just maybe in the past 5 or 6 years, I've just felt this thrust towards just being really honest in storytelling. And I think what's honest is that while a crew and a found family will really love each other and they'll fight for one another, they argue a lot. They're not going to agree on everything. And I put 4 totally different people in the cab of a truck, and I said, go accomplish this task. And I think it's interesting to watch their conversations, and that friction of not being able to get away from someone causes sparks. And I think as a reader, that's interesting. I find it interesting. And so I think that's what I did a lot of. And if I never knew where to go with something, if I'd run myself into a wall character wise, I really would just let 2 or 3 of them argue. And I think that helped me fumble and find a way forward, because I think that type of friction is way more interesting than just agreeing at all times or putting people together that always shared the same view. Because I don't find that is true of my friends and family. We're all slightly different. We disagree on things, but we love each other fiercely. And I wanted to recreate that, in the cab of a truck, as people do. So yeah, for sure. Can I ask you a character question?
Sure.
Okay, so I wanted to ask like your method for character creation and then also world building. In that, I'm curious to know, like, do you develop your world ahead of time and work your characters and plot into it? Or do you develop everything at once? Like, how does that work for you?
I definitely start with like characters first. Just because like for me, like when I read, like that is what I connect with the most. Like you could have a book with like the best world building in the world, but if it doesn't, like if I don't like identify with the characters, then like I'm gonna DNF, like
Right.
I like really just that human connection with the character is really important to me. And so as a writer, it's the same thing. Like I want to connect to a character. And so with A Forgery of Roses, I didn't really know how the magic system was going to work. And I didn't really know like how the world was going to work or how this magic system was going to fit in the world. But I knew that I wanted like Myra to be like this. Like, I don't know. I feel like for me, I don't know about this for every author, but for me, I usually like am trying to like work through something myself whenever I'm writing. And so like, I feel like the thing that I was working through with Myra was like trying to let go of the things that like I couldn't control and like stop trying to control the outcomes of every single situation and recognizing that like there are some things that I just don't have control over. Like, especially as an author, like I don't have control over whether people like my book. I don't have control over whether my publisher wants to buy another one, like I don't have control over that. Like, and so just to like focus on the things that are in your control and stuff. And to kind of lean into like the unpredictability of life, I guess. And so I kind of wanted that to be like, as I was thinking about Myra, the main character, I like wanted her arc to be about like learning to trust just love and other people and life and not trying to just like control everything in her life so much. So it kind of like grew from there. Like, how do I want her? Because I think like as an artist, you can control everything you're painting. Like you get to pick what colors and you get to pick, what the scenery is and all of those things. And so like for Myra, like that's a really good example of like how she tries to control everything in her life. And then when her paintings don't go according to plan with her magic, like she doesn't have control over that anymore. And so I kind of wanted to show that like in a story. And so, yeah, like it started with her. And then as I tried to figure out like what I wanted this story to be, because I wanted it to be a murder mystery. So I had to kind of figure out the rules of the magic system and the rules of the world in tandem with like her arc and like the mystery I was trying to set up. And so I had to kind of develop it from there. But yeah.
I love your magic system.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about magic systems? I think it's you next, but I'm going to jump you and just ask you, because you're talking about it already, but like your magic system is super fascinating. And actually I probably, like, I want to say this, but I think because this guy, I wanted to compare your magic system to something I would read in like a Brandon Sanderson novel. But I wanted to like also say this, while I appreciate Brandon Sanderson and all he brings to the world and would listen to him talk about writing all day long, I don't appreciate his voice. I don't know that he has much storytelling voice. And I think he willingly admits that. So I don't think I've blasphemed him. Please don't tell me in the comments that I've blasphemed him. But I just want to say, like, I think your magic system reminds me so much of something he would create, but then you get to layer on top of it your beautiful Jessica Olson voice. And so I think my favorite part about it is that your magic system and your religious system are intertwined. It's something I'm actually working on in a different book. And so I wanted to know if you could talk about your inspiration I mean, you talked about your magic system a bit, but what about that religious piece? Like, how did you kind of bring all those together and create your rules for your magic?
Yeah. So like with the magic system, like I knew I wanted it to be something to do with art, and I wanted it to be like she can alter people's bodies and their appearances and stuff with her paintings. But like how to do that and the nitty-gritty of it, you know what I mean? Like that was like kind of where I had to kind of figure it out as I went. And like what the limitations were on that. And like, because I didn't want it to turn into, she can just fix anything. Like, you know, because I think that there are a lot of really beautiful, quote unquote, imperfections, like things that like the world or that society would say, like, you need to get rid of that. Like you need to make your clothes look better, or this like trying to erase disabilities or different things like that I think are really beautiful. And like, so I didn't want the magic to just be able to alter anything. So it was like, I needed to kind of like figure out how to make it work so that she could alter some things, and but not everything. And so it kind of I kind of like scientified it a little bit.
It's a good word. I like it.
Like with like, so she has like they're like called severin, they're like soul threads, and like in order to alter somebody's body, she like messes with their soul threads or whatever. So like, and I like got to delve into a lot how like our spirits or souls, if you believe that people have spirits and souls, like how our physical appearances and how our physical bodies like interact with like who we are as a person. Because like I am shaped by some of the things that I've experienced specifically because of the body that I am in, you know. And I know everybody has that, you know, in their lives. And some people like have more visible like physical traits that like would affect their life more than others or whatever. And so I just kind of wanted to delve into that a little bit. And then it also came down to with the mystery, like I needed it to be like she needs to solve this mystery in order to do this painting. And so it was like so there was a certain amount of like the artist needs to understand like why something's the way it is or how something affected somebody in order to be able to alter it. And so it kind of just like grew with like every draft. So like the early drafts, like it was very, very simple. Like she just painted things and they just changed. And then like with every like draft, it like got more like technical. And I think it's like really flattering that you compared it to Brandon Sanderson. I will say that I have read Brandon Sanderson and I know he's like very very intense with his magic system. So like not quite there. I'm like the YA version, I guess. I don't know, but
I think you were really precise, right? Like this is how it works. And I like, my brain almost doesn't work that way, but I really appreciated it. I thought it was lovely.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of how my brain works. And then I also just have like some really great like writer friends who are always like, okay, but can we make this simpler? Like
really?
Yeah, because like I found that like this, like the more straightforward you make it, the more complex you can go with it. Like if you hone down them to like one, like it does one thing, then you can extrapolate that and it's not complicated for the reader to understand. But if you start out with like the magic can do this and this and this and this and this, then it's like really for the reader to pin down on their brain. And so that was like really good advice from my
it's fantastic advice.
Yeah. And then as far as like the religious system, like it kind of felt like a natural, like if she's able to alter people's bodies, like that feels like most people believe, like if the divine, like if they believe in a God, they believe that God like created us, right? Or whatever. And so it just seemed like kind of a natural progression, like for the people in this world to believe, like if this magic exists, to believe it came from a God of some kind. And the way that she works with like the soul threads of a person kind of just felt like it naturally. But I will say, like, I didn't intend for the religion to be like a very prominent, it was like very like just a subtle part of the world, I guess.
Like the backdrop.
Yeah.
I appreciated it. I think when I start my world building, I always start by generating a creation story for that world, because I think whether or not true or not, myth or legend, whatever it is, I think every people group has that. And so I think it's a good place to start for world building. And I almost always start there for sure.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it a lot. I thought it was really cool.
Thank you. So I would love to talk about your magic system, because like I loved the concept of like Winter being like a spirit or like magic, and like they control her power. Like I thought that was really, really cool and really unique. Like I haven't seen anything like that before. So I was curious like how you came up with that.
I think from the beginning, thank you, by the way, I think I mentioned before, I really was kind of going through something myself, just processing and thinking about the power of our words, and I really initially, like you said, and I had this really basic, she can command Winter. And then like, I had no idea why that was, and that had to be developed. But Sylvi, her words, that's where the power is. And I think in book 1, Mars says something to her to that effect. That's like, stop it with the hand motions. That's not where the power is. The power is in the words, and I think it was really very personal for me, just kind of wrestling with that and what that looked like. But what I ended up with at the end of book 1, because the whole thrust of book 1 is getting her to believe she has this ability, and to use it. Like, are you brave enough to use it? And so, you get her to the end of book 1, and then coming into book 2, it's like, I've got to put some limits on this now. Like, I can't just, right? Like I can't just, her words can't just make everything bad go away. That's not, 1, healthy. And 2, there has to be some kind of limits to keep the world building under control. And things, if she could possibly do that, and there was no limit, the power was unlimited. I don't even have a story because I don't have a problem. So I had to kind of consider what that would look like. So book 2, I spent a lot of time building a structure for that. And what is that? And it worked nicely for me, because by the end of book 1, she doesn't understand how it works either. So I was able to kind of learn it myself as I taught it to my characters. And I think it was a lot of fun to kind of develop that structure. I did it through the form of revelations that Mars Dresden has. And he's the one who knows the most about commanding Winter. And he's teaching Sylvi. He's that mentor character. And, but there was no one to teach him. He was just there when this curse happened, and he had to learn what it was like. If he commanded Winter to do something and it went awry, he learned. And sometimes it was really painful. And so I was able to create these 10 revelations that Mars has, and I'm not going to remember all 10 because I don't have that kind of brain either, but revelation number 1 is like, Winter is not your friend, and so and she just kind of, and these are things that are hard for her because she's grown up believing that she could play with Winter. And I think that was the other piece of this magic system, is that Winter was always an addiction for Sylvi. Winter was great for her. She loved hanging out with Winter. She loved winter storms. She loved the beauty of winter, of being out in it. She even really loved Winter's voice in her head and the way Winter made her feel. And so I got to play with this idea of, when the things that we're addicted to are maybe not so good for us, are we going to play with them? Are we going to just, are we going to send them on their way? And so that's really kind of her journey through book 2, is like, what are you going to do with this thing that you can control, but also it can control you? And so what are you going to do with this thing? And so I think that was so much of her storyline, and building that structure. Actually, like you said, the smaller you get and the more specific you get, really the possibilities open up, and it gives you this window into the larger world. And the larger magic system. And so I loved it. It was a lot of fun. I just love when a magic system actually comes together and cooperates, really cooperates. And so I found in book 2, the structure I put on it was very, very helpful. So yeah. And book 2, like book 1, it was all about her finding her voice, but book 2 a little bit is what happens if somebody wants you to shut up? What if somebody is trying to stop your voice? What does that do to your power? And so that was another theme I got to play with, and all of that, through the magic system. So really enjoyed it for sure.
As I was reading, I was really reminded, like, her relationship with Winter, like it just like really struck, like, as like just kind of reminded me of a lot of like abusive, like relationships or abusive systems, like relationships that we have with systems or organizations or different things like that, where we think that like, that they're being kind and that they're like taking care of us, or that, whatever. And then like the revelation, like as she like, through book 1 or whatever, she starts to realize like, Winter's been lying to me. Oh, like Winter actually treats me really horribly sometimes. Right. Oh, she controls me. Like, I just felt like that was really like, and like really organic, like the way that she resisted resisted those revelations that like, actually you have power, and it's not just Winter. Like actually you have a voice and you have a place and all of this stuff. Like I loved that about Sylvi's like journey through book 1, and I'm sure it continues in book 2. I'm super excited to read it. But yeah, I really, really love that. And I feel like that'll like resonate with a lot of readers nowadays, because I think a lot of people are waking up to things like that and recognizing those kinds of relationships in their lives. So
I think so too. Yeah, I love it. I do too. And I think magic systems work best when they're hitting some kind of thematic. If you're trying to say something, if you're not trying to say something and we're just creating magical swirls in the air, that's pretty and it's fun for a little bit, but it's not going to sustain you over the course of, 100,000 words. Right. And so I think having that deeper thematic element is really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So kind of going back like to kind of the general writing process, like, are you like an outliner, or do you like make things up as you go? Are you a discovery writer? Like has your process changed over the course of like all of the books that you have written?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for sure it has changed. I will say I'm a discovery writer at heart. So the whole plotter pantser conversation, I like the term discovery writer because I feel like I really am just like, I have an idea and now I'm discovering where it goes as I write. And I love that. I think it just defines exactly how I prefer to write and what I like to do. But I don't know if you've learned this. I mean, this is my 5th novel, my 6th novel, my 5th published novel. And I've learned that once you have a deadline, discovery writing is difficult because you just have to get done on this. No one's going to wait for you to think of that next thing. You've promised to get it done by a certain date. And so I think self-preservation has, required that I adapt some outlining tendencies, that I picked up some things that I can do. And so usually what I do first is I told you, I got the story idea. I came home, pitched it to my agent. I don't want to waste my time on something that's not sellable. Unless I just really want to write it. Sometimes I don't tell anyone because it's something I want to write. But if I'm looking for something to pitch, I'll ask her first. And then once I feel like the idea is good enough for that type of a job, I will then sit down and just start writing. Once I get 3 or 4 or 5, 6 chapters, I mean, sometimes 10 or 12, it just depends. Once I feel like I know the story enough, the characters, the main character, and I know where she's going, I will then sit down and I will, kind of slide my manuscript to the side, and I will open up a new document and write a working synopsis. And I don't let anyone read that yet. That's just for me. And it's really, I'm just telling myself the story, and it's rough. And I will use that as an outline, but I will adjust it the whole time. I'm not stuck, really, it's just so I have trajectory. I'm sure you do something similar. I just need trajectory. And so then I will use that. Sometimes I have to change the whole thing. Sometimes I have to scrap it. I sold Rebel entirely on a synopsis because they knew they wanted book 2, and they're like, what do you got? And I'm like, I don't know. I know what's supposed to come next. And so you write what you think comes next. And then it bears some resemblance to the final product, but it's certainly not verbatim. So I don't know. That's how I do it. I think I prefer writing. I don't know if I prefer writing standalones to series, because I think I've only ever written series that have sold. So I have one standalone. It's the only thing I never sold. Got really stinking close. And I mean, I thought it was going to sell super fast, and then we just never ended up getting an offer. But I think I would like to write a standalone. I like the idea of, like, there was such a delay between me finishing this book and actually promoting this book. So being able to kind of do all of it, you're going to come back and promote it, but then that's done. Whereas I'm not waiting for another contract. Am I writing book 2? What does that look like? I think I would like to write a standalone, but I don't know how to, like, what about you? Do you have series in your future, or do you like the standalone thing? I mean, what is your process, all that?
So it's funny. I usually, like, my ideas are like standalone ideas. Like, I usually get just like standalone. Like, I don't know. I just really, I don't read a lot of series. I'll be honest. Like, usually, even if I like read like a series, like I read the first book, and then I like, if I don't often like go to sequels, because I think there's just so many books out there, and like so many characters and worlds and magics, and like I'm just like, okay, I got my taste of that one. Now I'm gonna go find another one. I don't know. And so I think like that's how my brain kind of works, is in standalones. But like, I do have ideas for series, and so like that might happen. Like, I'm not gonna say like that's never gonna happen, or like that's definitely gonna happen. Like, it's just kind of one of those things. Like, I have ideas and I would love to do them, but it just kind of depends on how the publishing gods smile upon me,
Right.
So so far, I mean, a lot of people have been asking for sequel for Forgery of Roses. Like, I get DMs regularly for people ask, because it kind of has like a little bit of an open ending, and like I feel like a lot of people really like mysteries, and so like,
yes, we do, Jessica. Yes, we do.
Mysteries lend themselves well to like series, because you can solve a new mystery with every novel or whatever. So we'll say I do have ideas for like, if I were to ever like make a sequel to Forgery of Roses. I don't know if I ever will, just because I just want to make sure that it's like worth my time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I do.
Because writing books takes so much time and so much effort, and like, I don't want to do it if only 10 people are going to read. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that like, actually going to be like read. And so maybe someday, but right now there aren't any like super like solid plans to do anything like that with Forgery. But yeah, I don't know. So some standalones, some sequels.
Should we answer this question that's over here? Do you see it? There's a couple.
Oh.
There's a question that says, do you have a trusted friend or colleague that you bounce ideas off of? Do you, Jessica?
Usually, well, I have my CPs, like my writer friends that like we talk about stuff. And then also my agent. Like, usually I like bounce stuff off my writer friends first. They can be like, that's really dumb, so I don't have to embarrass myself in front of my agent. Although my agent is not mine, she's wonderful. But like, I always just like feel like I gotta impress her, because like, I don't know. I don't think that feeling ever goes away. Like, I've been working with her for years now, but it's just like, I still feel like, okay, I just want to make sure she thinks I'm cool. So,
Totally.
but yeah, so
they're always the coolest kid. I mean, the agents are,
right.
For sure.
So, yeah, I talk to like writer friends, and then to my agent. And if I'm working, like at the time when I was working with my editor, when I was trying to come up with something for Forgery, I talked to her about that too. But what about you? Do you?
I do. I have a close group of writer friends in this area. And so it has been large, and then some folks moved away. And so, yeah, I have, I'm Stephanie Garber is a close friend of mine in the area, and Jenny Lundquist, and we bounce ideas off of each other. But it's funny, I think, as you were talking about your agent, sometimes I'm like way, how do I say this? Sometimes I would rather like, I'm more chicken. How about this? I'm more chicken to bounce my ideas off my friends than my agent. So I think that maybe that tells you a little bit about my relationships that I didn't know until just now. But I think that just depends. I have some other friends. We run a website called Go Teen Writers. I think that was mentioned earlier. And the two gals that I run that with, Stephanie Morrill, and Jill Williamson. And we've known each other forever and ever. And so we will bounce ideas off of each other. And I think I could bounce absolutely anything off of that. They've seen me at my lowest, and I think I can bounce ideas off of them. So we do have some really great, I'm blessed in that way, having some really great friends around here. And our agents are really helpful. I think for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go. So I lost where we were, but I think we're, the best parts of writing.
Yeah. What's the best part of writing for you?
I think when it all pays off. Like when, and I mean that in the drafting and the writing process, not just, when you get a book deal, but like when you're writing, there's that moment when it's like, I don't think it's going to come together. Like, I don't know that it's going to happen. And then suddenly pieces fall into place, and it's like, oh my gosh, I wrote a book, I think that to me is the absolute best part. And then the most difficult part for me, and I would actually hand this off to anyone that wanted to do it on my behalf, and that is drafting the thing. The first part, getting the idea out of my head. If someone else could pry it out of there for me, I would appreciate it. I think the hardest part, and you will know this because you're a young mom, but when I first started writing, my youngest was just 3 months old. She is now 14. So that gives you some idea of how long I've been doing this. But I think that the hardest part for me entirely has always been and will always be moving in and out of my book, because you're so in, when you're in it, you have to be sold out to the project, your brain in that world. And then I've got to go, you know, nowadays I'm not doing diaper changing, but there was like this very real stepping away from magical worlds and going and being a mom, you know, or being a wife. And so those types of things are challenging for me to get my head re-engaged. And so it's just, it's very real. I'm trying to transition and wear more than one hat at a time. So I would love someone to draft it, and I will edit it into something beautiful, but the drafting part, getting it out of my head, is difficult. How about you? Best parts, worst parts?
Well, I think that mine are pretty similar. I like, my favorite part is like when it comes together. I love like line editing when it's like really close and you're just like putting the finishing touches and like making it sound pretty and like adding in like moments or whatever it's like the story is in place. I can see it, I can touch it, and like it's almost there. Like I like just perfecting at the end, like putting the finishing touches. Like that's my favorite part. And then like the hardest part for me is drafting. Like I hate drafting so much. It's like, can I skip to the revising? Like I had the idea, I figured, like, cause I'm an outliner. So I'm like, I even like wrote like this whole outline. Like I know what the book is. Can I just like push enter and then have it just like populate? Like,
yeah.
So it's and like you said, because I have little kids, and so it's hard because I'll get interrupted, and that's really frustrating because I love my kids, but I'm just like, I was in a groove.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? It's hard. And so like drafting is really hard, and so once you like get into the drafting mindset, it's really hard to like go in and out, because it's like, I don't know. I always feel like drafting is pulling teeth because you're just trying to get those words down, and like, like the whole time I'm drafting, I'm always like, it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be good. Right. Like it has to exist. That's all it needs.
And I think it's hard to turn that, especially if you've gone from finishing a project where you've just been line editing and you've just been making it look pretty, and now you have to start over. And what's that even about? We have to draft again. And I think it's like, those are two totally different parts of your brain, and they're different skill sets. And it's like re-engaging those can be very difficult. And I have found that is the hardest thing for me. So I'm glad I won't make you draft my books then, if you're also struggling there. I'll have someone else do it. But
yeah, for sure. It's like, and when you go back, like when you've been like making things pretty and then you go back to drafting, it's like you were just working with like moments and scenes where like they sound like real people, and they do like things that like feel like a real conversation or whatever. And then you're like writing your first draft and you're like, I don't know. He said like
brackets. Yeah. It's awful. I'm going to take this question over here so we don't miss anyone, but there's one over here that says, is there any storyline or character that you wanted in the book but was edited out? Can you think of any?
Let's see. Not in Forgery of Roses. So for Sing Me Forgotten, I totally rewrote that book from scratch. Like I had the whole thing written and revised, and like I thought it was good, and then I got some feedback that was super spot on, and I ended up tossing the entire draft.
Oh yeah, it's painful, right?
0. Like literally, I think there's like maybe 2 pages worth of content in the whole book that came from like that first version, and that was painful because it was a lot of. But
I've done it too. Yeah, I've done the same thing. Not with these books, but my first series. I had a book called Broken Wings, and I did a whole 50,000 word National Novel Writing Month project with it. And there isn't a single word, I don't think, no 2 words in the same order that made it into Broken Wings that is actually published. So I mean, I think we do scrap stuff all the time. I can think of one character I cut from Winter White and Wicked. But yeah, I mean, that's the best part though, I think, is chopping it up and making it what it was always supposed to be, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I think Cheryl is back. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. Are there any other questions or anything else, Jessica or Shannon, that we didn't get to?
I wanted to ask Jessica what she's working on. Maybe we could just talk
Go
about
ahead.
what's next for both of us.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So for me, I've been working on a project that I'm super, super, super excited about. It's like fantasy romance. So, but nothing quite announceable yet. So we'll just like whet your appetite with that and let you think about it. What about you, Shannon?
Yeah, I mentioned before, I had a historical project in the works. It's not contracted. I'm writing it because I want to tell this story. But that's, if I can figure the research piece out, I'll finish that. And then I do have another YA fantasy that I'm working on. And that one is, it's always fun to say it's your favorite thing you've ever done, right? Because right now, and I love that because I'm drafting and I hate drafting, but it's still maybe my favorite thing I've ever done. I hope to have, like you, I hope to be able to share some more about that soon. I will say it's probably the most classic fantasy I've ever written, more medieval than, Ice Road Trucker. And so it's a whole different ballgame. I always do different things and then I've got to learn how to do it again. So I am enjoying the process, but yeah, thank you for coming with me and doing this.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me too. It was super fun. I got out of doing bedtime stuff with the kids.
Yes.
So
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, this was wonderful. You both are so creative. I would just love to like cut your brains open and see like what's inside, because the way you both think, the things you come up with, the thoughts in your head, it's just incredible. But this was lots of fun, and we thank you so much for being with us and participating and sharing all your thoughts with our book passage community. Again, for those out there, Shannon's book, her new book, Rebel, Brave and Brutal. And there we go. And it is available right now. It is on our shelves at Book Passage. We also have Winter, White, and Wicked. That is also available if you want to start with that one. We also have Jessica Olson's books. Her book is also on our shelf. So I want to thank you for participating, for listening, for being part of our Book Passage community. We love bringing you these author events. We call them our conversations with authors. They are free events for the most part. And we can do this because you buy your books at Book Passage. So thank you again for doing that. Go out, get this book, get it for yourself, get it for friends, get it for family members. It's wonderful, and books are just amazing entertainment for the great value. This will just, keep you entertained for so long. Wonderful stories, so creative. And again, two very powerhouse storytellers we had here tonight. Thank you again for joining us. We love having authors, especially two creative people. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and thank you out there to our viewers. Happy New Year. We'll see you soon. Have a great evening. Good night.